Hi, hello, Mehmet. Hello again, and first time my podcast.
Hi, Thomas. How are you?
Great, thank you. And how are you? And let's please introduce yourself, your quick story of
Yes, sure.
life or career, maybe.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you, Thomas, for getting me here as a guest. My name is Mehmet. I am a podcast host myself. I am the host of the CTO show with Mehmet, which is a show that bridge technology, business, startups, entrepreneurship
Mhm.
together. We target all over the world. Actually, my plan initially was to be only focused on the Middle East region, but now after 6 months, the podcast has a global reach. A little bit on myself. I've been in the technology sector for all my career, like 20 plus years as a technology consultant. At some stage in my career, I shifted to more like solution consulting and sales, mainly in the SaaS space. And recently, this year in Jan, I established my own company where I provide a startup advisory services, both from technology, business, sales perspective.
Great. So yeah, I want to ask you, as you say that it was possible to do this global expansion, what it's also all usually goal for companies from Eastern Central Europe. So can you tell more about your idea for the podcast? Because I often see this mistake that people try to make a podcast like Joe Rogan, for example, about like everything to focus
Mm.
on getting super big audience. And in your case, I love how you niche down, but yeah, please tell something more about your show.
Yeah, actually, Thomas, it's a little bit interesting because the way I did it, it was not planned. So,
Mhm.
of course, I had a concept in my mind for quite some times. Actually, it's before the pandemic, before 2022, 2020. And, I always wanted to start a podcast, but I was still not sure, what the theme would be, what the
Mhm.
format would be, and so on. And then what I did is the beginning of this year, I said, okay, let's try to do a new concept. In software world and entrepreneurship, they now do something called build in public, right? So
Mhm.
build in public, where they share with everyone what they are doing, they get immediate feedback. So I said, why I don't try this build in public for podcasting?
Mhm.
But of course, again, I know exactly what I want to talk about because I'm a guy who work in technology. So common sense to cover tech, and I'm passionate about startups. So I said, let me see how I can bridge both. So this is how it started, and I wanted to do daily, right? So
Mhm.
I know it's challenging, and the reason I choose daily because, of course, for anyone who's considering to start a podcast, of course, what I advise you to do, other than choosing the topic, the theme, also you should be a follower or a listener of some podcasts, right?
Mhm.
So, personally, I was listening to a couple of podcasts in different topics. And when I wanted to do daily, I said, okay, let me look who from the list I have they do daily. And a couple of them came to my mind. For example, smart passive income,
Mhm.
there are a couple of other ones that they
Kathleen.
do. Yes, Patlin, yeah, exactly. And there's Jean-Luc Dumas, I think he does also
Mhm.
daily. Gary V, he does daily also as well. And there are a couple of guys like My First Millions that these guys, Sam and Sean, like they started daily, but then they little bit like slowed down, I would
Mhm.
say. But again, whenever there's a topic, they come up to the podcast and they record. So I was inspired by these guys, honestly. And I like the way also, like, I think they themselves, they did. Tim Ferriss also was one of my inspiration, by the way. But Tim was doing like kind of bi-weekly first and even monthly.
And super long.
Yes.
Like three,
From
four hours.
from the duration. Now,
Mhm.
this is I did a research also, Thomas. So
Mhm.
for me, I started to read like how people usually listen to the podcast. And majority of the time you see the best time people listen to podcast either when they are, driving to work, commuting
Mhm.
to work, or maybe they are on the train, or in the airplane or whatever, or when they are, for example, in the gym. And think about it, like how long this guy would be able to be focused with you if you think
Mm-hmm.
about it. And even this is why I started to remember when I was at school how long the session was, and after which time I would start to be bored, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I said, let me first do very short ones. So I was doing like 7-10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but surprisingly, people start to tell me, oh, like we wish like it goes a little bit longer. So I start
Mm-hmm.
to think, okay, how I can, you know, make the topic a little bit longer. And then after again some research, I figured out that, oh, I need some guests, because when I have a guest, and like me and you today, we are talking. So minimum we can talk for easily 30 minutes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
easily we can find something. And people started to like this. And then I start to have guests. Now I stopped doing solo episodes
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people want to be on the show now, which is good, I believe. And I'm doing only video interviews. I mean, if the guest is want audio, that's fine. We can do only audio. But majority of the time, I'm recording interviews with someone. So this is something also which increased the popularity actually of the
Mm-hmm.
podcast. What else I can tell you? So yeah, regarding the frequency, of course, I was doing daily, including weekends. I stopped weekends because
Mm-hmm.
it's too much time. And in the weekend, no, like for the weekend, again, there's some work you have to do, post editing and so on. And I felt like if I do it in the weekend, the quality would not be as good as I want. So I
Mm-hmm.
stopped doing this. And again, I did everything in public. I went out, I told people, hey, like now we're gonna shrink it from 7 days to 5 days, but it will not go less than 5 days. So I promise people that you will have 5 episodes from me during weekdays. And now it's been like this for 2 months. So the podcast itself started in Jan this year, and now today, after 6 months, I'm doing 5 episodes per week, which I'm happy, and the feedback is good. The reach is it's not as like it's still early days, honestly
Mm-hmm.
speaking, I know, but it's better than what I expected to be. So I'm getting good number of listeners, and the list is growing day after day, and the reach is growing day after day.
Okay. And what brings you the most results? Networking with so many people, or your interaction with listeners? Because as you have 5 interviews per week, it's big, yeah. And I have like my idea now is to for my 2 podcasts, 2 episodes per week for Polish one and one for this English that we are now talking for Eastern Europe. And I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking too much, but you are talking about 5 interviews per week. So what brings you the most results? Networking or
Um,
listeners?
oh yeah, that's a good question. So what I have seen is networking. I can
Mm-hmm.
say networking, right? So networking is something very important. And actually, what started to happen after a while, and I feel myself lucky, because again, when I was searching before I start, you know, all the time I was seeing these articles that it is a long-term game. You need to stay in the game for a long time. And this is why majority of the people, what they do, they start to do one episode per week. Like new
Mm-hmm.
people to podcasting, usually they do one per week. Sometimes even they do one per month, but it's not advisable as I've seen. And even
Mm-hmm.
I have some guests who specialize in this and they talk on the show as well. So they said like it's good to start with 1 or 2 episodes and then keep growing. Now, what happened, because I'm doing this daily, so actually my network exploded. I can tell you this. So
Mm-hmm.
my LinkedIn followers started to grow. I started to get even requests from people introduced by some other people who were on the show as well. So this is the best result, I would say, like, because networking started to bring me result. And the best of that is I was able to get some business as well. I mean, in a sense that because people know about me, they watch or they listen, so they start to come to me for consulting and
Mm-hmm.
this, which I, by the way, I didn't intend to be this. My goal of the
Okay.
podcast, it's like a passion. I like to talk to people and I like to share knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, and I don't hide it. Like I'm building a kind of a brand for myself, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
a brand building and thought leadership kind of creation, which worked very well. I feel myself again lucky, and I'm grateful because I started to see results very early.
Mm-hmm. True. And yeah, it's like people advise with public speaking that if you, or maybe to learn stand-up comedy, that you should
Yes,
every possible occasion, and if you do this daily, it's like for someone 1 month, because someone will create 4 episodes in 1 month and you will create 20, so it's like few years in 1 year. So I think always that intensity. So super great to hear this, because I thought that you have this podcast longer. From my external view, it's not maybe direct target audience, because I not so much into technology, more into business marketing and how to sell this. And yeah, it's from external view. I thought that you are you have this podcast for many years. So as we talk in January, probably you are just started, and great
yeah.
to see these results. So okay, so maybe let's jump from podcasting to Middle East, because as mission of my podcast is to help the companies, mostly out IT from Central and into Eastern Europe, to go global. And for us, often is direction, okay, Western Europe, US. But yeah, as I see that it's Dubai, it's like it's growing, and so many entrepreneurs, it's moving for the winter, not maybe to Thailand, but to Dubai, to not only for warm weather, but also for business. And
Right.
how to sell? Maybe can you tell a little bit about your perspective of the business environment in Dubai, and how to sell to these companies?
Yeah, that's a great question, Thomas, and thank you for being. Actually, I should tell at the introduction that I'm based in Dubai. I forget
Mhm.
that. Thank you for mentioning this. Yeah, I've been living here in the city for like more than 18 years now.
Mhm.
So I've seen it all. Like actually, there are some people who've seen it even when it really started to get on the map, I would say. Yeah, so as you mentioned, Dubai became a hub for entrepreneurs, right?
Mhm.
And we started to see, like in the past, let's say 10 years or so, a lot of, because was something, we never used to hear about unicorns born in our
Mhm.
region. Actually, especially in tech, you rarely hear about a tech company that, became very big and the global reach outside of Silicon Valley, right?
Mhm.
So, with few exceptions here and there. So, what happened 10 years back, actually, before that, let me give some, like, for the audience to understand. So the country decided way back, in the late 1990s, they had the vision to, they wanted to diversify the economy. So the way you can diversify the economy is you need to have, some kind of hub for a few things. So of course, they started with, aviation sector, tourism, real estate. But of course, like, because, there's a big ambition to become really a hub for everything, like also they have a nice financial center as well here. So
Mhm.
technology was there, and this is why they established way long back in early 2000s something called Dubai Internet City, production city, and all these places or hubs for entrepreneurs to come, and even technology companies. And this is took some time, of course, because nothing can happen overnight. So in the beginning of 2010, 2011, especially after the financial crisis, we started to see some tech startups built locally here, right?
Mhm.
So some of them, they are in the e-commerce, some of them they are like in the hair riding and so on. And all of a sudden, and because, there was a lot of sponsorship, both from the government and, from everyone around, these tech companies actually they went out and they were acquired by big companies. So for example, there was a company called souk.com, which is like eBay, if you want, and then they were bought by Amazon. So Amazon bought souk.com, and this is how Amazon actually as e-commerce became here. And the Kareem app, which is the first ride-hailing application here in the region, they get acquired by Uber. And it was for big amount of money. I can't remember exactly, but in billions of dollars. So this, it gave the ignite for the region to become a tech hub. Now, this is kind of history. Also, at the same time, because there are multiple factors that help the city to be in the map. Of course, being a touristic place and famous, everyone knows Dubai. The tallest building in the world. Best infrastructure, best airline, all this. So people start to come more, and actually they establish kind of a nice lifestyle as well. Especially for people who comes from the West, like from the US or the UK. They used to tell me, what, like here it's like the weather is nice and everything is perfect. So why we don't stay here? So this lifestyle, also boosted why people wanted to come here and start to do business. This grew the economy, and now we have, a lot of startups here based in the region. And, surprisingly or not surprisingly, a lot of companies that they are outside the region, they want now to have Dubai as their hub. If not Dubai, any other place in the Middle East. So because now we have multiple technical hubs. So Dubai is one of them. Abu Dhabi is another one. Saudi Arabia is coming on the map as well with, a very ambitious vision. So, and, of course, because these companies, these countries are wealthy because they had the oil. So you don't have the problem of money, actually. So there are good funds over here. And, doing business became really easy. If I compare it to the way it was done when I first came, and now you can open a business here. You can open your own company in no time and very cheap than multiple places in the world. So it's very easy to do business. And now we started to see, because you ask about companies in Europe and mainly in Eastern Europe, maybe, and Central Europe. I started recently to see a lot of these companies, they want to work here. Why? Because all the talents are coming here, right? So a lot of talents is coming to the city and in the region in general. Plus, there is a place to sell, like the population is growing. And I had a guest in my podcast, and he described it very well. He said like it's the best place, it's a dream place for any startup. Why? Because you have multiple culture, so you can test any idea with different cultures. All people, they are more or less like wealthy and not super rich, but they have money, right? So they would be paying for your services. And it's like, it's a free economy, of course, so you can do, the way that you might do it in other places. Plus, for some people I spoke with, why they are coming here, not going, for example, to Southeast Asia, because it's in the middle, it's closer to Europe, right? It's not very far from Europe, like it's like a 4 or 5 hours flight only, compared to 12 hours maybe to a place like Thailand or Bali or whatever. Plus, if they want to go there now, it's closer for them to go that direction. And everything is available here. Like this is why it becomes very hot to be here. Now, from business perspective, the biggest market, if someone is thinking to come and start their business in this area in the Middle East, of course, Dubai and the United Arab Emirates is big economy, and the big economy also next door is Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia, they have this ambitious 2030 vision where they are building cities from scratch. And I'm seeing, a lot of startups being also starting there. And it's a good opportunity because, when you are building something from scratch, from zero, opportunities comes up because they need expertise in whatever you are doing. So whether you are a developer, whether you are a designer, I don't know, like all the I would say, skills are really wanted in this area of the world now. And most importantly, the reason why people love here is, in addition to all what I mentioned from economical
Mhm.
perspective, because also of the safety aspect. Like, like Dubai is one, I think it's the safest city in the world, one of the safest. If not the number one, it would be number two. So this safety, ease of doing business, ease flow of, I would say, transactions, ease of doing business, all these factors are pushing. And recently I started to see like companies coming from Romania. I've met like some people who came from Poland as well. I've seen a couple of people who came from Ukraine also. They moved because of the situation. So I start to see a lot of companies now, they want to come here to establish their business. Of course, yeah, there is competition, that's for sure. But
Mhm.
if you really have, some like supreme services or supreme product, you have a big chance of growing here in this region.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. And is it necessary to meet in person for the B2B buyers? Is the from the cultural perspective, or there are open also or remote cooperations? How it works from your perspective?
Um, so it depends. It
Mhm.
depends here what's the service. Of
Of
course,
course.
here again, people, they don't like 2020, but I think 2020, if I want to see it from a positive perspective, I mean the
Mhm.
pandemic, one of the things that it made this paradigm shift in the way how we do business. Because back in the days, if you talk to any customer, in not only in our region, in many places, and you say, hey, can we have a Teams call or Zoom call to discuss? They'll tell, no, 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 I want to see you in my
Mhm.
office. Now this broke a little bit. Now, except if you are having kind of a SaaS service,
Mhm.
and and this SaaS service is not like that, I would say, on the enterprise
Of
side,
course.
you don't need to be here, right?
Mhm.
You don't need to be here. Um, if you are in the enterprise space, of course, it's better that, because they would tell you at some stage, especially if you want to do some government
Mhm.
contracts, you would require to have a local presence. And local presence means you need to have someone who's representing your company, or you want to have someone who maybe he's your partner or distributor. It depends on your product and how you distribute it today. Yeah, but face to face is not a must, especially if you are
Okay.
into the B2C, let's
Of
say,
course.
SaaS. You don't need to be here. B2B, if it's SMB. And by the way, like I do this also for a couple of startups as well.
Mhm.
I advise them. So what we do usually, we sit together and I try to understand first their product, what
Mhm.
they are doing, what they are trying to solve, who is the persona that they have to talk to, and then we decide which approach is better. Is it better
Mhm.
to have a local presence? Can they delegate this to some channel partners? Or maybe they can even hire kind of an inside sales in
Mhm.
their HQ, wherever they are, and then do these transactions. So it's a case by case, I would say, but
Mhm.
there is no barrier of doing business, I mean, remotely. That
Okay.
was something difficult before, but now it's easier, of course,
Okay.
after the pandemic.
Do you have service to test this possible offerings to Middle East? Because yeah, as I was thinking about question, maybe which conference to go, maybe something else. But of course, it depends of the value of the service, deal size, etc. Do you have some? Is it also your part? Because I was always thinking that you are mostly in technical consulting, but as we are talking, I see maybe you also help with this business perspective.
Yeah, so I offer both. So I
Mhm.
have the technology and business consultancy,
Okay.
but my business, but and like recently I started to focus completely on startups,
Mhm.
or let's call them scale ups, plus
Okay.
small medium businesses. So this is I would say this is my backyard, right?
Mhm.
Um, so this, but before I come to the service, you mentioned something very important. Um, exhibitions is something big here. Like
Okay.
if you are in the tech space, of course, what I advise you to do, and I've seen companies they succeeded to do that. They come to local exhibitions here, they participate. And by the way, this is very easy to do nowadays. You don't have to have an office. You can just get in touch with the organizers, and they will give you a booth where you can be there, talk to people. And it's better to go to the specialized ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, of course, there are a couple of famous exhibitions. For example, if you are in technology in general, there is something called GITEX, for people who doesn't know. So GITEX is the biggest technology exhibition across the whole Middle East and North Africa region, that happens usually in October every year. They've been running it now for, I think, 25, actually no more, sorry, like 30 plus years now,
Mm-hmm.
since 1985 or 86. So this is the biggest one. It's something very similar to the big one that happens usually in Germany. I know in Europe
Mm-hmm.
they have the one that happens in Germany every year. So very similar to it. So you can come to test grounds as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you are, for example, in cybersecurity, there's another one that happens usually in April or March, depends, which is called JISEC, which is also for
Okay.
cybersecurity. And then there's the specialized ones. So, for example, because I was talking to a startup in the HR tech, a
Mm-hmm.
couple of months back. So, we found an exhibition which is only for HR technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and they participated in that one, and they get some good leads from there. So, on the part of exhibition, so it's good to go to the big ones, and usually they are like kind of, you just show your name, you show your brand, you can come up with good leads from there.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go to the more specialized ones, the beauty of it is like you can talk to decision makers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you can talk to if you are again in HR tech, you will be talking to an HR director. If you go to an education tech, you would be talking, to the guy or to the lady that would be responsible for choosing the technology for education, right? So you go specialized, the chances are better that you get better exposure, you get some leads. Now back to the services. So just if I can explain it very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I act as a co-founder. I
Mm-hmm.
act as a co-founder with my clients. And I move with them from any stage to the other all the way. So I have even something I call it idea generation as a service. So
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't have idea, we can come sit down, come up with an idea, and then start to take it to the next level. If you have an idea, we can validate it, do market research, and take it to the next level. You have the idea which is validated, good. Let's do MVP. You have MVP. Okay, let's try to see how we can. Do you want funds? We can help you get some funds. If you want to, I would say you already have funds, you are doing well, you want just to expand in the region, you want to understand. So also we can help you. And on top of that, we do the technology services. So for example, startups usually they don't have the full power of having, for example, an IT director, a security officer, and all this. So we offer these also as a services. And I do this, by the way, like I act as an ecosystem. So I hook up with partners, which we did, like this is why I call it Yasi Ventures. So we hook up with partners, which I trust, of course, and we
Mm-hmm.
offer these services. So I have a business partner for technology services. I have a partner for financing and fundraising. I have a business partner for MVP building and so on. So Yasi Ventures becomes like it's like the middle piece of the puzzle that connects everything together, if you want.
Okay. Okay. Nice. And yeah, last question about, because we talk about exhibition, we talk about, possible cooperation with you. How if you using LinkedIn? Is LinkedIn is popular here? Do you have, more interactions with your content from global part of your community, or in Dubai
Mm.
also people use LinkedIn as the networking tool?
So personally, being part of this game for a long time, I would
Mm-hmm.
say I tried all of them, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and when these social media platforms started to appear, LinkedIn was the platform that was introduced. It is for professionals to network, and this is
Mm-hmm.
why it was my go-to market, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
since LinkedIn, came up. So and this is why I use LinkedIn a lot. So it's
Mm-hmm.
the platform that is priority for me. Of course, like I tried using Twitter, I still try to use Twitter, but we didn't get together well. This is what I
Mm-hmm.
can say, because Twitter, it's like more commitment from, growing the audience. You need to write more content and you need to be
Mm-hmm.
more active, which is okay. I tried to do a couple of times, but I felt like overwhelmed, honestly. I'm still active there, but like it's
Mm-hmm.
not my mainstream, I would say. And again, I think about it. The main idea of Twitter was to share updates, and these kinds of things. And okay, later changed maybe, but again, this for me, Twitter is where you can find professionals and where you can find, a little kid just hanging around, right? LinkedIn, the beauty of the platform as a business owner, or now even as a podcaster, by the way, it allowed me to grow my audience as well, because some of the audience they found, because I share every episode's links on LinkedIn, so
Mm-hmm.
people, I get some links from there. Now this is about me. Now there's the new one which came out just today at the time of this recording, Threads. So I'm not sure. It's popping up now.
We'll
I'm
see.
not sure. We will
True, true.
see where it will
But I
go.
saw, yeah, also in the groups of people I respect that they are creating account there. So maybe.
I created an account just for the, I like to test.
Okay.
I'm a tech guy, right? So in the
Mm-hmm.
bone of me, there's this tech genes, where if something new, I have to go and try it. Um, just a couple of hours, I was not there much. It looks to me people taking revenge of Twitter at the time being. Like
Mm-hmm.
it looks like this. Although, like, I love Twitter. I used to love Twitter because back in the days it was better than this. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
this.
I
Now
like for
back to,
consumption, but not
yeah,
so much for business for me also. That
not
I
for
think
business, not for
that
business, for
LinkedIn it's
consumption.
of course it's like I'm offering LinkedIn, so I often explore other opportunities, maybe to bring someone else from different platform to LinkedIn, but it works only
Yes.
for me with paid advertising to run webinars on using Facebook. Even we advertise our webinar on TikTok, and it was pretty good.
Oh, I had Thomas to because when before doing the podcast, I have an account on TikTok, I have an account on
Mhm.
Instagram, but never used it, honestly speaking.
Okay.
But as a podcaster, you don't have choice, because
Mhm.
you need to grow your audience, and to grow the audience, you need to repurpose your
Mhm.
content on these platforms. And I started to do this, and I'm lucky I have some tools that helps me to do that. Now
Do you
back
have
to your
something for AI to maybe that you put the episode and it
oh
somehow find or not? Because it's
I
something that when I talk with many creators, that it's something that everyone think maybe I saw something like this somewhere, but I don't have personally. And I think it will be gold if we put our, today's episode to tool like this, and we have like 8 shots, for example. But I don't know anything like this. Every time I ask
oh
people talk about the script, etc., and I know this, but I have something that could AI could choose the things for shorts.
Yeah, see, look, for AI, what I would say, uh, like, don't rely on it 100%. But you know
Of
what?
course,
It does 80. Let it do 80% of the
of
job, and I
course.
will do the 80% and the
Hmm.
20%. I have no problem. And actually, and even I now recently repeated this on my podcast many times. Yes, guys, I use AI in production. I mean,
Of
how I
course.
use it, because I see if I did a mistake sometimes, maybe to
Mhm.
cut there. I use it sometimes even to bring some ideas, and it's working very well. And at the end of the day, like, the AI cannot be me and do this
Mhm.
interview with you, right? Just if you allow me, Thomas, because you asked something about the social media here. So
Mhm.
people here, from networking perspective, yes, LinkedIn is the way to go, but I will put a disclaimer here, including myself, and this is
Mhm.
something cultural. We don't like too much outreach. You
Mhm.
know, uh, if you are sending a very, I would say, sales-ish
Mhm.
message on LinkedIn, probably you will not be answered, right? It's good to get in touch, and you have to play the long game. And when I say the play game, it's not like you added me today and you wait for 3 days and then you send me a message. This doesn't work, right? So you need to be very patient. You need to let the other guy see who you are, what you are trying to do, and believe me, they will reach you out, right? So it's here more a, how would say, a time game. You need to be patient. But LinkedIn is your way to go for networking. Definitely yes. Generating sales, I would say maybe some people will not like this, but this is my opinion, and I tried it honestly as well. So
Great, great. It's,
yeah.
it's like connect with my method, but I always say that, yeah, maybe connect with someone without this sales intent at the beginning, and keep creating content and keep repeating about yourself. And as we meet in one community, I think there are many people that I talk with and I forget about them because they don't create anything on LinkedIn, and we talk one time, and
Right.
not anything special at the beginning. But if we talked, we added, we are connected on LinkedIn and we see each other content, it's something different. We can cannot talk for a few months even, but
Right.
I remembered you because, okay, the CTO podcast, great idea, keep seeing your content and think, okay, it's great to reach again. And yeah, I think it's like the modern networking, and even to use that we talk with someone during the conference.
Right.
If we talk and don't follow up, and even how to follow up, for me it's always, okay, how is your how you doing? It's, what can I say to someone that I talk 2 years ago? Okay, I have something changed in my house. It's weird, but if I'm
Right.
keep posting, and when you start talking, I can relate to your content. I can mention, oh, I saw that again. You are keep going on with your podcast. So yeah, I think it's like this treating with respect other person and with empathy,
100%.
because I think nobody like to be sold to receiving outreach and just use that just to squeeze as a lead. And I think that way we can use LinkedIn to be the best networking tool. And I'm happy that even in the Middle East, what it's little cultural different than Europe, etc. But yeah, it's showing that the business perspective, it's like
It's
common
same.
to have this common ground rules.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and as I said, like at the end of the day, try to use, my advice on LinkedIn specifically, because I've been using it for quite some long time now. And of course, after the podcast, I had to increase my momentum over there also as well. So you need to be consistent in there, and also listen to your audience, like um and really, like be authentic. And this is, I say it not only for social media, like be authentic, because people like people who are on their nature, right? Like don't pretend to be someone else. And this is why now, I am grateful because I was able to build this trust on LinkedIn. And now even maybe it's funny, even some like in previous lives when I was in corporate world, people that I wanted to reach out as clients, I was not able at that time, but now they reach out to me, and they write to me, they text me, they say, hey, like great content, let's keep in touch. And I said, okay, that means I'm on the right direction. So yeah, be
Yeah.
authentic, guys, and be relaxed, nothing. There's one guy I advise you to, I'm not affiliated with him, but there's one guy famous on LinkedIn, maybe you know him, Thomas, Justin Welsh. Follow this guy. Like really, he gives really nice advices about how to use LinkedIn, and he have even a course over there, so very useful one. You don't have to buy the course if you want, but I mean, if you follow the guy, great content, great hints on how to build audience and how to grow. And I followed some of his advice, and it worked for me actually.
Yeah, I like him also only a little bit, that sometimes for if someone is super B2B specific industry, maybe writing post like he writes could be too simple to simplify
Yes.
the content, but I think it's great starting point, and to understand the psychology how he writes, it could work. So maybe to not have the pressure, because sometimes I see that, you know, someone have like 1,000 clients, impossible clients in the world, and then try to write viral posts, and I see it's no reason for this. Always think about your target client. If you
Right.
know your clients and you know that your ideal client is CTO, and like don't like, for example, he doesn't like something coaching style, etc. Okay, maybe focus on something that the person will
100%.
respect.
100%. You
Yeah, but it's great to
need
have
to understand the
inspiration.
audience. You need to
Yeah,
understand the audience.
of course,
100%.
of course.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's the great great idea for finishing our episode. So where our listener can find you online?
Oh, great. So first of all, I'm happy to share that it's not a mistake. I wanted to wait for a time. So people used to ask me, where is the show, right? And I
Mhm,
say it's on Type CTO show on any podcasting application you find me. And
mhm,
then until one guy said, Mehmet, why you don't have a website for your show?
mhm.
And I said, yeah, I was waiting. So finally, I have a website, and the
Right.
website is it's called mehmetcto.show. It's one word,
Okay.
Mehmet, Mehmet,
Mhm. I
CTO.show.
will post
Uh,
link below, so don't worry.
sure,
People will
sure,
have
sure.
opportunity to click.
Yeah, so there, it's a brand new website. I just finished it 1 week back.
Mhm,
So where you can find the episode, you can listen them there, or you can it will point you out to Apple Podcast, Spotify, and all the rest of applications. And also, I have a channel on YouTube. It's called also the CTO Show. You can find it there. Of course, you can follow, and I think Thomas will put the link. I would be happy to connect with you. I'm very active on LinkedIn, guys. Like my
mhm.
my main social, network is LinkedIn. So you can reach out to me over there, and yeah, like this is how they can reach out to me.
Okay, thank you. So thank you for our great talk, and see you on LinkedIn and somewhere in the world, I hope.
Sure, sure. Thank you very much, Thomas, for this. Thank you.
Thank you.